Shelby Memorial Library events. We have our partners, Mayborn Science Theater, and we have CTC Astronomer Warren Hart, who's going to be doing our virtual events. Hey, Warren.
Hi, good to
Well,
see you.
yeah, I know you have a ton of stuff to talk about, so I'm going to let you take it away.
Okay, let's go as far as helping the people to find us out on the web page for the CTC library. And so, Cindy, if you'll bring that page up and
Go.
show them how they can find us.
You hit that research study guide, and we are right there. Astronomy and Mayburn Science Theater. And it's got all kind of cool stuff. It links to the actual Mayborn Science Theater website, tells you all about upcoming shows, events, and the eclipse countdown is on here.
Whoa, pretty soon we're going to be down into the 300 days to go.
Yep, yep. And this is where all our calendars are and the maps that Warren talks about. So everything you
Oh,
need.
all right, good. Well, let's go ahead and start. And we want to start, I'd like to start in February where we are today. And
Okay.
this is the February calendar. And if you'll look there on what Cindy has up, the second page of the calendar. And if you look at Wednesday, the 22nd, that's what we are doing right now. And what we try to do, and we have it set up for virtually the rest of the year, that the Wednesday prior to the last Saturday of each month, that's when we will do this presentation here that you see, because the last Saturday of each month, with the exception of October, November, December, that's when I'm at the planetarium at 5:30 in the evening for about an hour, maybe an hour plus. And I talk about, as you can see here, here we are in February, and I'm going to talk about what's going to happen in March and the March constellations. There's 8 of them. So just as a real quick refresher, you notice on the Wednesday, the 22nd, today, the next thing is tomorrow evening is the constellation, and you know there it's Vela, and it's part of that mythical ship Argo Navis, and this is the sail of it. And I've added in for us there on the viewing period time, rather than just saying from sunset to sunrise, I decided that I would put in when is sunset at CTC, and then you can adjust your time to for where your location is. So that's just what that is done. And then you see on this coming Saturday, what I just talked about, be talking and showing, and there's some things I can do in the planetarium we cannot do here on the WebEx page. And so let's go to the last week of February, and we'll do that with the March calendar. So Cindy, if you'll just bring up the March calendar, and that includes, so let's see what we have. Coming up on Sunday, the 26th, next week, you see there that the moon is real close, less than 2 degrees from the globular cluster. And that always gets me. The astronomers are so creative on their talking about different things. And so this is a glob of stars that's in the sky. Oh, wow, how creative they are. Anyway, Pleiades, Pleiades, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It's also called the Seven Sisters, or if you want to speak in Japanese, it's Subaru, and it's just like the car. If you have a Subaru or you happen to see one in the parking lot or something, look at their logo for the the name of the car, and you will see it has there the stars. Anyway, there it is, and it's Pleiades is in the constellation of Taurus the Bull. And then we have on Monday is the first quarter moon. And the moon, of course, is the fastest thing that moves in the sky for us. And so that same Monday at 11 o'clock at night, the moon is just barely 1 degree away from the planet Mars. And to help you to figure out about 1 degree, if you hold your hand out in front of you and you hold up your little pinky is about 1 degree across. And when you hold your hand at arm's length across from one side to the other is about 1 degree. And that's how close it will seem that the moon is to the planet Mars. Recognizing, of course, the moon is much, much closer than the planet Mars. And then the sun also happens to be, just to give an update, that it is in the constellation of Aquarius, the water bearer. But we're now going to get into March, and that's what we want to bring up here. And Cindy showed you on the LibGuide page for astronomy, and the countdown that on Wednesday, March the 1st, there you can see it's 404 days until the TSE, or the total solar eclipse. And then on Thursday, there's a number of things that are happening in the early morning, and otherwise at midnight Thursday morning, which it starts Thursday, that the planet Venus is going to be 1/2 a degree from the planet Jupiter. So you will see the two of those very, very close. Then in the afternoon, we can't see it in the sky because of the sun, but you can be aware of it for the evening. The moon is about 5 degrees. It's moved along, and it's from the star Castor in the constellation Gemini, the twins. And about 5 degrees, if you hold up and make a fist, that from one side to the other is approximately 5 degrees. No, excuse me. The 5 degrees was a little earlier there. 5 degrees would be from your middle three fingers, one side to the other, at arm's length, gives you then approximately the 5 degrees. And in the evening, there is our first of the 8 constellations, and that's Antlia, the air pump. There's the time. And so let's take a look at Antlia, Cindy. There you are, the air pump. And remember, and also for those that are new to what we're showing here, everything on the LibGuide page with the constellations and the calendars and a few other things are in PDF, and you can copy, download, and print them out. So you would see there Antlia. Now let's scroll on down just a little bit on the first page, okay? And we see that it's visible for us because we can see further down than what's on this page here. Let's go down to the second page, if you would, Cindy. Every constellation I've also included for its last page the information of what is on the first page. And if you see there on the stars, there are 10 that are listed, and I give you information. There's their name, uh, there's their what we would call their address, and how bright they are in magnitude that you can see, how far away are they, and how big are they. So if you notice, Antlia goes across, and it's our westernmost star in the constellation, and it happens to be the largest star of Antlia is the same Epsilon star, and it's 63 times larger than our sun. And then you go down to two more lines to the number 3, Eta, and it happens to be the closest to us at 109 light years, and it's the smallest, just barely, not even 1.5 times larger than our star, than our sun. Each one, I have 6 different, what I call the extreme stars, which one's the brightest, the dimmest, which one's the closest, the farthest, and which one is the smallest and the largest. You will see that here in a little bit when I put all of this together. So let's go back to our first page on it, Cindy, and just scroll up. There it is. And then if you notice over on the right-hand side in the white area, and the white area is the designated area in the sky by the professional astronomers, and they designated that area will be for the constellation Antlia. And because it rises in the east, of course, and so the right hand uh, part of the constellation, if you would look at it, it would start from the right, and as time goes on, it's going to start rising up. Notice over on the left-hand side of the page, there in between the -20 and the -30 degrees, I have written Eastern Horizon. So if you were going to look to the east, you would take this page, turn it so that the eastern horizon is, as you're holding it in your hand, would be down at the bottom, and you would put that on the eastern horizon, and you would begin to see that Antlia would rise vertically, kind of, as it comes up there. And so that's why I've numbered the stars in that order. So there's the first one we would see, the second, the third, fourth, fifth, all the way to the 10th star. That's why I list them in that way, and that's the same on the second page. Okay, let's go back to the calendar, if you would please, Cindy. And let's see what else we have on that day. I've mentioned about the planet Jupiter and planet Venus being close, and the moon being close to Castor in Gemini. And then we have down at the bottom at 9 o'clock on Thursday evening, the moon is going to be just under 2 degrees away from the star Pollux, also in Gemini. And 2 degrees, if you would take and hold your thumb out, your thumb is going to be approximately 2 degrees across there, as you would get an idea of where the moon and that star would be.
Mary Ann Hart, Ice Family.
So we have all of that on that day. Now, Friday, we have at noon, there is the moon at its apogee. And what does that mean? Well, you read down the next line, it's the 6th farthest of the moon position for the month. The moon orbits, if you will, around Earth. It's a full 360 degrees, but it's not a perfect circle. It is an elliptical circle. So there is a time when the moon will be the farthest from us in the the time for its position, and there it is. And we will see later on here when the moon is going to be the closest to us. Also, that evening on Friday, there is our next constellation, and that is sextans. And there's the time. So, Cindy, if you'll bring up sextans for us. Thank you. And you'll notice we have some lines on here we didn't have on Antlia, but the sextans, notice the white area for the constellation sextans. It straddles, if you will, the equator. It's in the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. And so what we say, pardon me, is that sextans is an equatorial constellation because it straddles the equator. And it's below the ecliptic, which is the path of the sun in the sky for us throughout the year. And also along that line, a little bit up and down from it, would be for the planets and the moon. The ecliptic, when I say that word, there should be another word coming to mind, and that is eclipse. And so that's the only region in the sky you would look for either an eclipse of the sun or an eclipse of the moon. So that's what we have. And the second page is very basic. Notice we just barely have only 5 stars. And there's that information. I also include, you'll see down after the listing of the stars, for all the constellations, what are the names of the constellations that border where sextans is? And I started at the 12 o'clock northern border, and then there's some more interesting information. There's describing some things about sextans, and then also the ecliptic and the equator, and then where you need to be on Earth to be able to see all of sextans. And if you notice, we are able to see all of it. So let's go back, if we will, to the page, the first page, if you would. And we have there all of those stars. They're numbered, and the information is on that second page. Okay, let's go back to the calendar, and we'll see that we've pretty well finished up the first part of March. So let's go on down to this the first full week. And on the 5th, and I put on there that it will be 400 days until our total solar eclipse. And we also have 2 constellations. That's Hydra, the constellation, the female water snake, and Leo Minor, the lion's cub. So, Cindy, let's take a look first of all at Hydra. And here comes Hydra. It's pretty hard to see on the page because it is so large. And notice that I have it as listed up there. It is the 71st brightest of the 88 constellations, and it's also the first. It is the largest of all the constellations. Notice how much white area is designated for Hydra. And we're just starting with it over on the very far right-hand side. and it's going to take months for us to finish up and get to the tail of Hydra. And I have included, you can be able to see in just a moment, there's the numbers for the stars. And then also you'll see in just down below the beginning of Hydra, the head of it, there's another one labeled the capital letter A, and I have there where it is. What is that? Well, let's go to the second page and let's see. There's a listing of all of the stars, all 18 of them. And if you notice, just happens to be there's the letter A, and that happens to be, as we would read on over, that it is let's see if I have on it, this object, and it's not a constellation. It is another object in the sky, and for some reason I didn't include what it actually is, but it's another group of stars, but it's far, far away outside of our own uh, Milky Way, if you will. And that's what we have. Now, 1 through 18 are our stars, and you can see I have listed there the 6 that are the most extreme, and then also those that are the westernmost, northern, the southern, and the easternmost in their location. And the same, scroll down on the page, if you would, Cindy, same information. If there's any asterisms, asterism there, all that means is somebody long time ago saw some stars that they wanted to connect the lines, the dots, the stars, and they call that the head of Hydra, the snake. You say, wow, that's different. Well, we're going to see here on one of our constellations, I'm going to mention an asterism that I am sure every one of you is familiar with. And then there's the bordering constellations. In this case, because Hydra is so large, they have 13 other constellations bordering it. And then there's additional information. Let's go on to the calendar. And by the way, I failed to mention that if you have a question or a comment, you can, Cindy, tell them how they can get the information, ask the question and get here or the comment.
Oh, basically just go ahead and comment in the Facebook. And Alyssa is our streaming artist here. And she'll go ahead and give us the question.
Yeah. And also, I want to emphasize, and I do in the planetarium, if you have a question, I want you to call out that question right then. Please do not wait until the end, because then we've lost some of the context of why you are asking that question. And you're not going to be the only one asking that. There's a number of others that have probably thought about asking the question, but they're too bashful to speak up and ask the question out loud. So please go ahead. I'm never disturbed or irritated that you ask right then and make me stop. I'm thrilled that you will do that. I don't like everybody having to wait till the end of the professor, and I'm not the professor, but the lecture, and then you ask a question regarding the first thing he or she ever said, and well, that doesn't mean we have to go all the way back. Let's do it now. Okay, enough on that hobby horse. Now, We have on Tuesday the 7th, we have the moon at its full phase, if you will. And notice I looked up and there are names for the different phases for the moon and also based on what time of the year. In this occasion, since this is coming up springtime, this is called the, oh, wow, the worm moon. Now, why the worm moon? Well, guess what's waking up or beginning to move and all are the worms and the everything in the soil. And so for whatever reason, that's one its name. And it's in its full location. So we would see that ideally, we will see the full moon at night. Then a third time I mentioned about the total solar eclipse is it's on April the 8th of next year, not this year, April the 8th. So on the 8th of each month, I indicate how many months to go. In this case, 13 months. Now we have another constellation. This is Chameleon, the chameleon. And let's go ahead and bring it up, Cindy. There we go, chameleon. Now, notice something on this. And look at the top of the page there in the green over on the upper left. CTC Planetarium Southern, go over to the right-hand side in the upper right corner, horizon. We can only see, now scroll just to the top of the, yeah, we can only see what's above that line. So we cannot see anything of chameleon. Warren, why did you put that in? Well, there may be somebody somewhere that may be, has to be in the southern hemisphere that they could see it and they could print this out, even though we cannot see it. So that's why I have it there. And not to be selective on which constellations to post, I just decided a long time ago, all of them. And then depending on where you are here on Earth, you can see how many and some you can't see. So there it is, very basic. There's the six stars, and also you'll see it's very close to a southern celestial pole down there. Okay, and let's go on back to the calendar.
And in the dome, you can see those, right, Warren?
Yes,
The
yeah,
ones
we will
that are
move.
lower.
Right, in the dome, Cindy mentioned that we can take and we can move the star ball so that we can see chameleon and we could even see the southern South Pole, but we can't do that here, of course. Okay, our next event is that we have the ecliptical and equatorial constellations of Leo the Lion and Ursa Major. And there's the time. Well, let's go to the page. There's Leo the Lion. Now, what did I say? I said it is ecliptical and equatorial. Well, look at the area designated for Leo, and you see that way down toward the bottom of it, well, there's the equator, and there's a little bit of it in the southern hemisphere, so it is an equatorial. But if you go up there across the middle, the upper part of it, and you see it says Tropic of Cancer. All right, we have that, but let's go up a little bit higher, and there is our latitude where we are. And then if you look down at the legs of Leo, there is the ecliptic. So that's why I call it an ecliptical and equatorial constellation, to just get you in your mind of what you're going to be looking at. And the Tropic of Cancer happens to be the northernmost latitude that the sun will be in this month of March for us when we leave the winter and we start in with our spring season. And at the top of the Leo, there is there is where our latitude is. So there is, to see anything, you would look straight up overhead. That's our latitude. Now, I got something. What's that on the page? Something Icarus? What in the world is that? Let's go to the information page, Cindy. We're going to scroll down to the information page. Good. Notice we have our listing of our stars, and we go on down, and eventually, oh, there's Icarus. And let's read on over. And how far away is it? 14.4 billion light years. It is the most distant individual star yet detected. Now, there are millions and trillions of other stars that are billions of light years away, but they are so far, we cannot break out a single star. But because of a certain condition that happened, the scientists, the astronomers, were able actually to pull out this individual star, and that's very, very rare. There you can see the asterisms in Leo, listing about that, the constellations, the information, and just more things for you to become familiar with. All right, let's go back to the calendar. And what else do we have here for our calendar? And we see what, Leo, the lion, and oh, Ursa Major. Well, let's go back and let's find Ursa Major. And we should recognize that in the sky. There's the big bear, and connecting the lines, looks like his head and nose is off to the left, and then looks like he's got a saddle on his back, but I do not intend to ride on the back of a polar bear. So that's for someone else to want to do. And then there's the rest of the Ursa Major, if you will, on this. And we have all of the stars that are here. Now, let's scroll down, and you see here is a lot of information on the page. There's where our northern horizon would be, and what that means, but because we're in the northern hemisphere, that's just the horizon, and we can look up and we'll see everything else all the way up around there. And we come on down, and then there's our latitude. The Big Bear is almost directly overhead. There's our Tropic of Cancer for the northern path of the sun, and there's the ecliptic. So let's go to the information page. And we got a lot of information here, and there's all of that. Asterisms. Look at down through here, and let's see if you recognize anything in the asterisms.
Big Dipper.
the Big Dipper. That is an asterism. Again, it is not the name of a constellation. It's somebody long time ago chose to connect those stars to make what we call the Big Dipper. And so asterisms are like that. And there's the rest of the information that you can read and become more familiar with on the constellation there. Okay, let's go back to the calendar. And you see where we are on it over on the right-hand side for the Saturday. Now we're also, here's something I put on before going to bed on that Saturday night. Don't forget to set all of your clocks forward, spring forward 1 hour. Now let's go to the next page there on the 12th on Sunday at 2 in the morning is when we change from standard time to daylight time. And that's when we go then to, we change, if you will, from the winter to the spring. And also at the time, the sun is entering its next constellation, Pisces, the fishes. Now, we have here on Monday the 13th, just under 2 degrees, which would be our thumb, that the moon is that close to seeing the star Antares in the constellation of Scorpius the Scorpion. And it's easy to see. It's a red, bright red star. And it's also going to be more than likely the largest star with that you will see with not using binoculars or a telescope, just your eyeballs. And there it is. It is many, many thousands of times larger than our own sun. Now let's go on Tuesday the 14th. Our moon has gone from the fourth, the full moon phase to now the third quarter, and you can get the information there. And then on Thursday the 16th, mentioned that the planet Mars in the afternoon is at a position called the East Quadrature. Oh, good night. Well, we can get some information on that. And notice it trails the sun. So when's the best time to see it? After sunset. And as it goes on, the sun goes on down and it gets darker in the twilights, then you should be able to see that reddish planet Mars. And I also give you the information that sunset that evening is at 7:40, and as time goes on, you should see Mars. And as you look up there, you should see the planet Jupiter, which will be much brighter. It's going to be still up until 9 in the evening. And even further up, just a little bit, you're going to see the brightest planet in the sky, the planet Venus, and you've got until a little bit after 10 o'clock to see that. So if you go out and starting with sunset, you should be able to see Mars, Jupiter, and Venus. And also, Mars is going to stay up throughout the night. Notice it won't set until 3 a.m. the next day on Friday. So give you that information. Let's go on down to the next week. The next week, on the 19th, we have the perigee. And what is that? Well, let's read through. The moon is at its perigee location, and it's the seventh closest. Oh, perigee means close. The way I remember on the difference between perigee and apogee is, how do we do that, Cindy?
Perigee means it's perilously close.
Yeah, it's about we're about to land here on Earth with us. It's perilously close to us. And there you see the information. Now, also on Monday the 20th, the sun is going to be at what it's called its vernal equinox. And we have two Latin words there, vernal green and equinox, meaning equal nox, night, day, night. And let's see what we have here. The sun's apparent yearly path along the ecliptic crosses the equator, transiting, and the sun transits from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere, and actually then the celestial springtime would begin, even though you scroll back up on the other date, that's when our been chosen on that Sunday, the second Sunday of March each year. It's when we change our clocks. So the time and then the actual season of spring starts on Monday the 20th. Now the moon on the 21st has continued on around, and it's reached a new position, location. For you to picture in your mind, we are here on Earth. We're going to look toward the sun, and in between us and the sun is going to be the moon. But we're not going to see it because we are looking at the shadow, the dark side of the moon. And I get asked every once in a while, isn't that where we would have a solar eclipse? Yes. However, the moon has to be in line horizontally with us and the sun, and the moon is its orbit. It goes around us, yes, but its orbit is inclined about 5 degrees. So as it comes around, it's in the new position in between us and the sun, and I failed to put it, and I'll do that from now on, it's either below the line for us to have an eclipse, or it's above the line for us to have the eclipse. Let's go on to the 22nd, and we have our next constellation. In fact, this is our last constellation of the month because we've had a number of days when we've had 2 of them. So let's go to Crater the Cup, and you have that up for us. Let's see. Are we going to be able to see it? Well, there's the equator, there's the ecliptic, and we go down, and there's the Tropic of Capricorn, the southern limit for the sun in the winter time, but we can see all of it. And we can check that out here in just a little bit. There's our numbered stars, if you will. So let's scroll down to the page where we're going to have our information. And let's zoom in on it, and let's see what we have. And we have our stars and the information about each one of the stars, the bordering constellations, the interesting information. Now let's look at, to view all of the constellation, we must be between the following latitudes or at them. 64, the north doesn't bother us. Okay. And the south, well, we're going to be able to see it. So that is how you could cross-check to see if you know our latitude. And our latitude here is northern hemisphere latitude 31.1 degrees north of the equator. So if we are north of minus there, and we would subtract, it's actually 58.9, gives us where our southern horizon would be, and we're way within that, so we can see it. All right, let's go back to the calendar. We're about ready to finish up here. And let's see, what do we have on the next day? On the 23rd, here is again our library page, and we're going to be talking about the April 7 constellations. And on Saturday the 25th at the planetarium, that's when I will be doing the presentation there in the planetarium on those 7 constellations. And then we round out finish up the month for us of March, and you see our moon has gone around, and on Tuesday the 28th, it's at its first quarter position. And then on the 31st, we see that the moon is moved and it's at its apogee location, and it's the 9th farthest. I should have put in, because let's scroll up to the first page of the the calendar, Cindy. And what do we see in here? Let's see if we find something. Hey, look at Friday, the 3rd of March. That's an apogee. So I should have put in, this is the first of 2 apogees for the month of March. So it's the 6th farthest, and then at the end of March, we're going to have it's this, what is the 9th farthest as it moves on around. So sometimes you can get that, and as far as it being close to us twice in 1 month. Now, you would say, yes, go ahead.
Before we start, I think the next one will be on the 22nd, a Wednesday. You've got it as a Thursday.
Oh,
So
okay.
the next one's a Wednesday.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
well, the new calendar I posted should have that.
Okay.
I'll make sure that you get a copy of it. Thank you, Cindy.
You're
Yeah,
welcome.
that's on that move, the 23rd Thursday. It's on the 22nd.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Now, let me close out with this. If we have 2 apogees in 1 month, don't we call that a blue moon or something like that? Well, actually, no. The blue moon is just a name for if you have 2 of the same phase in 1 month. And the phase for the moon are the new, the first quarter, the full, and the third quarter. And so apogee and perigee does not come up with calling it a blue moon. If we had 2, well, here, first quarters, and if we scroll, there's the first quarter, but let's scroll up to the first page, and you will see, where is the first quarter? It's not in March, it's in February. We got close, but not. And then if they'd been in both in March, then we'd have called those blue moons. Okay, I see we got about 10 minutes left. And then also on Monday or Saturday, April the 1st, 373 days till the total solar eclipse. And that's not a joke. That's for real. All right, are there any questions or comments, anybody?
Do you want to show your extreme stars real quick?
Yes, let's do that. Reminding me, my STM is not real sharp today, short-term memory. Okay, each of the constellations, the 8 constellations, we listed on their last page the 6, what I call the extreme stars for that constellation. And there you can see in Antlia, the air pump, there is, each one has the dimmest, brightest, closest, farthest, smallest, largest. But I went through and I said, that's of each of them, but I wanted to see as we scroll down to the bottom of the page. So if you'll scroll down, let's see it is for the whole month. And there, for the month of the 8 constellations, the dimmest star is this one here, HD 92845 Antlia, in the constellation Antlia, and it's the dimmest of the month. And then you see the brightest of the month. Well, this makes sense. Regulus, the brightest star in the Lion, makes it, and it's the brightest for the whole month. And then you can see the rest, closest, farthest, and the smallest and the largest. And so also, while we're on this page, look just up on the line for Ursa Major, the Big Bear. And as you go across and look, there's 2 items that I've shaded, and there is Alula Australis, and you see it happens to be the closest of all of the 8 constellations. And we go over, and it is again, and it happens to be the smallest star of all of the 8 constellations. So each one, and if you scroll up to the first page, you should see then we're going to have should have 4 more. So let's see, we have Regulus, 1, we have in Chameleon, there's 2, and in Antlia, 3, and which is the other one I haven't gotten? Let's see, scroll down to the second page again for us, Cindy. Okay, Antlia, okay, I failed to scroll up to the first page. There's a 2700. Oh, there it is over on the left. There it is, the dimmest star. So there's our 4 that happen to be here, and we have our the other 2 in there on the second page. So there's the 6 stars for each one and which constellations. Okay, thank you, Cindy. And let's close out. If you will bring back up your lib page, the LibGuide page, so the people can see all the things that you've provided for them. And you can mention some other things as we begin to close out.
Okay, before we do that, Alyssa, were there any questions?
No, we didn't have any questions.
Okay, all righty. I always have so many questions, but I pretty much pick your brain before we even get started every week. I have to admit, have you been watching the Webb telescope images? They're amazing.
Yes.
They're amazing. So our next virtual night sky tour is very small, so I cannot see it, but it will be March 22nd. And then we have a lot of upcoming events, starting with next week, the military history. These are in person, so make sure you guys come to the campus for these. One, we have a military journalist coming, and that's going to be an amazing story about all the different campaigns. That will be at noon. And then on March the 8th, did I say May before? I meant March the 1st and March the 8th, we're going to have images of stories where we're going to have a veteran tell his story, but then also talk about a project that he did, a photography project he did that involved veterans. We also have a lot of upcoming events. We're going to be having a resume and job fair workshops. We have lots of things, horse ownership, a lot of very interesting. We're also going to have pre-recorded life stories and the Dallas story about industrial mobilization during World War II. So we have a lot of upcoming military history events. If you are a CTC student, make sure you get your byways entries in before March the 10th. Go to the library website, go all the way down to byways and click on that to see the different categories. Also, if you're a welding student, make sure you get involved in our welding competition. This is the first time we're trying it. Our industrial arts students are very, very talented here at CTC. And so we want to make sure that you guys have a lot of recognition. So make sure that you guys enter that as well. So that's all I have.
Oh, let's see. Oh, Cindy, on that
What?
welding competition, that makes me remember when I was in high school, we had a welding class, and I did so well, I kept welding my one thing to the table rather than to the other thing I was supposed to. And so the instructor would have to come over and unweld what I had welded. And he got tired of that after about the third time. And I think I went and sat down.
Yeah, so we're not going to give you very many torches, Warren. You don't get torches.
Okay, okay.
Well, Warren, thank you again so much for it's always a pleasure to, find out the new things. The other night I looked up and I saw such an amazing bright constellation. And don't ask me what it was because I don't remember the name, but I remember being sad that I didn't have the paper right in front of me so that I
Yeah.
could remember the name. But it was very, very bright, and it was just really kind of cool to be able to start, recognizing the constellation in the sky. Every time I look at the moon, I immediately go, okay, is it waxing? Is it waning? Is it an apogee? Is it a perigee? Yeah, you've got
Very
me moon
good.
crazy now.
Very, very good. Very good. Outstanding. Well, that's the whole point of trying to do this.
Okay. All righty. Well, listen, everybody, you guys, thank you, Warren, again. And everybody, y'all go enjoy the beautiful weather. In Texas, we never know whether it's going to be like 10 below next week. So
Right.
go enjoy it today. All right. Okay. Well, we'll see you later. And Alyssa, if you will take us out. Thanks a lot, Alyssa.
Mhm.